I found my bookish boyfriend and his name is Grady Hendrix. It's so boring, you know? Get a little wild in there. Like, do I love pasta 24/7? Yes, but I'm not gonna abandon cheesecake. And I just like ate this up. Heights by not Emily Henry, oh my God. I guess I'm a little toxic. Like, the man can do no wrong. Hi friends, today I will be recommending you some books, which is a shocker, I'm sure. My name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a book tag, which I'm super excited about. And this particular tag was actually created by Steph, and I will link her channel down below. I love her content so much, but I've been seeing this tag go around BookTube for a little while now, and I really love the questions, so I kind of wanted to try it myself. But before we go ahead and dive into the tag, I would like to thank today's sponsor, which is Care Of. Speaking of recommendations, because we're doing the book recommendation tag, I highly recommend checking out Care Of. But what is Care Of, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Care Of is a subscription service that sells high-quality personalized vitamins, supplements, and powders to your door every single month. Made from good-for-you clean ingredients that are backed by the latest science and research so that you can feel good about what you're putting into your body. And if you're overwhelmed with figuring out which vitamins you might need and want to include in your daily routine, you can always take their quiz, which asks you questions about your diet, lifestyle, and health goals, and then recommends the right vitamins and supplements for your specific needs and goals. My Care Of packet has so many incredible vitamins that I absolutely love, but I think the one I really love taking the most is the rhodiola that's included in here, because I found that it has given me a little bit more of like a boost of energy throughout the day, and I feel so much better now that I've incorporated it into my daily routine. I personally love how customizable these vitamins are. The quiz I took felt really thorough and specific. They recommended vitamins that felt very specific to my personal needs, which I really appreciate a lot. I also love the convenience of Care Of. I think it's incredible that I don't have to worry about going out and shopping for vitamins. They're just delivered every single month to my door, and I find that so nice. I really do. I highly recommend, if you're interested, taking their quiz to see which vitamins and supplements they recommend for you. And if you're interested in trying Care Of for yourself, you can click on the link down below and use my code, which is Roseland50, to get 50% off your very first purchase from Care Of. Thank you again so much, Care Of, for sponsoring today's video. I highly recommend checking them out. Again, all the links will be down below in the description along with my code. And now back to the book recommendation video. Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive into the very first question of the tag. So question number 1 is a book you tell people is your favorite. So here's the deal. This is like asking me what is my favorite food. I can't just say one. I love all of my children. Like, do I love pasta 24/7? Yes, but I'm not gonna abandon cheesecake. And that's sort of how I feel about books. If you were to ask me my favorite, I would literally be like, in what genre? Because if you're asking me what my favorite romance is, I might say Take a Hint, Danny Brown, or I might say The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, or I might say People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. All would be the correct answer. If you wanna know my very favorite middle grade, I would absolutely say Nevermore, or I would say The Graveyard Book by my love, Neil Gaiman. Or I might recommend a tearjerker like The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James, or King and the Dragonflies by Kaysen Callender. If you wanna know my favorite literary fiction, it has to be Song of Achilles, or it could be If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. By this point, somebody is like, okay, I get it, like you can stop answering the question. But no, I would continue. You wanna know my favorite YA? Maybe it's I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, or maybe it's Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno. If we're talking favorite classic, Emma by Jane Austen, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It could be Wuthering Heights by not Emily Henry, oh my God, by Emily Bronte, because I guess I'm a little toxic. Or it could be The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, you know? Get a little wild in there. If we're talking fantasy, House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune has to be included, and also The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, again, has to be included. And finally, if you want to know my favorite horror, I would absolutely say it's going to be House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson or My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. And no, I could not pick one of these over any of the others. Question number 2, a book that is your guilty pleasure. Okay, so I have 2 for this one. The first one is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. Whew, you know what I mean? This is just one of my favorite romances of all time, but it definitely is pretty steamy. It's a retelling of Persephone and Hades, and I just like ate this up. If you are not a person who is used to reading a lot of steamy romance, I don't know if I would start with this one because it is pretty spicy. And then also I have to include That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. This book is everything. It's by Kimberly Lemming. This book is about a little cottagecore girl who ends up falling in love with a demon. And let me tell you, it is equal parts adventurous and spicy good time, okay? Like, I highly recommend it. Question number 3, a book everyone loved but you didn't. I really want to love you. I really want to love you. The thing is, I've actually like started this book. Do you see this little bookmark here? That's where I'm at in the story. So I got to page 302 before I was like, I give up. I tried reading this when it first came out and everyone was talking about how much they loved The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I wanted to be a fan of this because it has everything that I feel in my heart should be what I love. Dragons, high adventure, high fantasy, multiple perspectives, interweaving storylines, but like it's so boring. I really want to revisit this. In my soul, I want to love this series. And that's why I have not donated the book, even though I've had this book now for years. I really, really, really want to try a reread of this to see if maybe the first time around it wasn't for me, but maybe now it is. However, I keep putting it off because I remember how bored I was the first time I tried reading this. Question number 4, a book that you read the fastest. And that is going to be Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a book that I actually read in one day, and I think I even have like a vlog where I'm reading this in one day. It's a book that takes place in the future. We're following Wade Watts, who kind of basically lives his life online in something called the Oasis. It's like a virtual reality place. There is like this eccentric billionaire who created the Oasis who passes on, and he says that anybody who can solve this riddle slash quest of his in the Oasis actually wins the rights to the Oasis and all of his money, and no one can crack the code until Wade Watts. And then like the chase is on, and now everybody is like excited and invested in this riddle, and everyone is like trying to stop Wade from inheriting billions and the Oasis. And it's such a fun time. Also, I love all of the pop culture references from the 80s in here. I'm a big 80s fan, okay? Like I love the music, I love the vibes of the 80s. And so I ate this up. Question number 5, a book that deserves more hype. A Million Junes by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is such a famous romance author. She wrote The People We Meet on Vacation, Book Lovers, Beach Read. She just came out with Happy Place. Everyone loves her books, but not a lot of people have read her YA books, and I feel like this book is maybe my favorite book that she's written. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. It feels very different to her adult romance reads, so I understand maybe why it isn't as hyped up. It's very beautiful though, and it's so romantic. The pining in it is gorgeous. If you love a book about family history, a book about uncovering secrets in a family, but also a book about longing and pining, Romeo and Juliet vibes, and you love Emily Henry, I think you should read A Million Junes. Like, I honestly feel like this book deserves way more recognition, especially on Book Talk and on BookTube. Question number 6, a book that is becoming a movie or TV show. I want them to do this book justice. I really, really do. I've heard that it's going to be like a mini series, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm very confused. Like, I don't really know what's going on. I feel like several different production companies have like picked it up, put it on hold, and then somebody else has the rights to it. But I don't know, like, I don't know what's going on with this. I loved what Amazon Prime did with Daisy Jones, and I want that for this book so much, because this book is just such a great book. If you don't know what Evelyn Hugo is about, or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it's about Evelyn Hugo, who is a struggling actress. She moves to Hollywood and she sort of tries to become a famous and recognized actress. And it's about her love life. It's about all of the people who she falls in love with. And it's exciting, it's romantic. I just feel like she's such a fun character to root for and to read about and to learn about. And I feel like this would be such a fun and really cinematic kind of old Hollywood type movie or TV series. I think it's gonna be a TV series, but I just don't know anything about it. Question number 7, a book that you have reread the most, and that is going to be Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I know that everyone talks about this book, but to be fair, I found this even before I was a booktuber, okay? Like I found this like when it first came out, and that's why my copy is so old and so yellow. I loved this book the first time I read it. I actually read the whole thing in 24 hours and then I reread it and then I reread it again. I have not reread it in several years, but I've probably reread this story at least 5 times and I love it so much. And every single time I read it, it breaks my freaking heart. It is a retelling and sort of reimagining of Patroclus and Achilles. I know I say that guy's name wrong. I've heard Patroclus, I've heard Patroclus, I've heard other versions that I can't recall. It's a reimagining basically of Achilles, who was featured in Homer's The Iliad, but this is the reimagining of their relationship. It's the reimagining of Patroclus or Patroclus and Achilles. In Madeline Miller's version, they are best friends and then they are lovers, and it is everything. It's just... I freaking love this book, okay? Question number 8 is a book from a genre that you don't typically read. I don't typically read sci-fi, and I have 2 recommendations from 2 sci-fi books that I really, really enjoyed. The first one is A Psalm for the Wild Built, and this is by Becky Chambers. This is actually a book that I read with my Patreons, and I didn't think that I was going to love it because it is a little bit more slow in the beginning, but the message at the end is so powerful and so beautiful. And I think it's a message that everyone could honestly listen to and really get a lot of enjoyment from. And it's about a tea monk named Dex. And Dex goes town to town and they have like a little tea cart where they listen to people who maybe want to share something. Maybe they want to share their anxieties or their worries or something that's going on, and Dex pours them tea. And in this book, Dex feels a little bit lost, and they end up finding a robot, a wild robot that comes in from the forest, and the robot and Dex sort of have musings about life and about humanity, and it's just very beautiful and very well done. And then the other sci-fi has very, very, very different vibes. I feel like that last one was a lot more slow-paced and really focused more on the themes. But if you're looking for something that's fast-paced with great sibling dynamics and it's just so engaging, I highly recommend Shauna McGuire's Middle Game. I love this book so much. 5 out of 5 stars. It's about 2 twins, Roger and Dodger, whose father is trying to create them to be gods, or like he's trying to bring them to godhood. I feel like it's extremely unique and it's just so fast paced. It actually opens up, like the book opens up with 5 minutes too late before the world ends. Question number 9, a book that deserves all of the hype that it gets. And I'm going to change this just a little bit from a book that deserves all the hype to an author that deserves all the hype. And that is Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is my favorite horror author. Now, I know I haven't read a lot of classic horror authors. Like I've never read Stephen King before, and I really, really want to. Horror is a newer genre for me, but like I know I've already found the one, okay? I found my bookish boyfriend and his name is Grady Hendrix, and I am obsessed with every single thing that Grady Hendrix writes. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, 5 stars. How to Sell a Haunted House, 5 stars. My Best Friend's Exorcism, 5 stars, and objectively one of my favorite books of all freaking time. The man can do no wrong. If you have never tried horror before and you are interested, I highly recommend him because I feel like he does a great job at incorporating humor with horror. So like a lot of these books deal with very heavy topics and are objectively quite scary, but he balances humor very, very well so that you're scared, but you're also not petrified. And I think that might be one of the reasons why some people don't love his books, because it feels a little bit too campy. But for me, for someone who maybe doesn't read as much horror, I need it to be well balanced with humor. And I feel like he does a great job at that. But also, I feel like he is so, sorry, this is like a Grady Hendrix video now, but I also feel like he does such a great job at creating believable, well-fleshed, dimensional characters. Every character in here feels like a real person with real flaws and real opinions. Nobody in his books ever feel cliche. Like, how does he do it? I'm in awe of his writing talent. I really, really am. This particular book is tackling vampires, and it takes place, I want to say, in the 90s, I think, and it's about a group of women who are trying to stop a vampire from taking advantage of the kids and their families in the neighborhood. It's very scary. This one explores sibling dynamics, and it's about two siblings who have to sell their parents' haunted house when they pass away, and the house is haunted. It's very scary. And then this particular one is about two best friends in the 80s, Abby and Gretchen, and one of them becomes possessed by a demon and her best friend has to save her. I'm obsessed, okay? Question number 10 is a book that I usually recommend when someone asks for a book recommendation. And I'll be honest, I usually don't have one particular book because I really like to personalize my book recommendations. If you love fantasy, I'm not gonna recommend you a nonfiction. If you love poetry, I'm not gonna recommend you, I don't know, like an essay collection. I really, really like to pay attention to what people like and then personalize my recommendation from there. Question number 11 is a book that has your favorite characters. Okay, I think my favorite characters can be found in either Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, which is a middle grade series, or in The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which is an adult fantasy. I love reading books where you find people who maybe they were not related, but then they found each other and they became a family. Oh, I feel like another really, really good one in here would be Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. That's another one where I love all of the characters because I love their dynamics as a newfound family. So any book that has like a found family element is probably gonna have my favorite character development and favorite characters. Question number 12, a book that you could live in. Okay, this was actually really hard for me because there are so many worlds that I find very enchanting, but have scary stuff happening to them, which like I have no desire to be a part of. I have no desire to defeat a big bad guy right now. I have the desire to like sip coffee and chat to people about books. Like that's where I'm at in life. So these are the three that I came up with. The very first one is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This is an adult romance book and it's also a fantasy. Highly, highly recommend it. It's about Mika Moon, who is a witch in hiding, and she is hired to be sort of like the witch teacher and nanny to three little magical witches. And I love this because I just love the found family aspect in this book so much. I love her relationship with Jamie, who is a librarian and who's really, really grumpy. And I love like the girls. I love every single character in this book. It's just amazing. And I feel like my life would be so peaceful at this little house. I think it's called the Nowhere House actually, where they live. And it just seems so like wholesome and sweet, this little found family. I also chose Act Your Age Eve Brown because this is about Eve Brown, who goes to the Lake Districts, which is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. And she goes to be a chef at this little inn, and then she falls in love with the innkeeper, or like the owner of the hotel. And listen, I love this for her. I don't want to take this away from her. I just want to replicate this. Like I want this to be my life. And then the final book that I wish I could live in is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is a middle grade and it's like a classic middle grade at this point. And it's about Winnie Foster, who runs away from home and finds a beautiful boy named Jesse who is drinking from like this spring, and he takes her to his family's house. She learns that the family, they live on forever. And it's just a book that really, I think, highlights slow living, and it highlights the cottagecore lifestyle, really like slowing down and just enjoying yourself and the magic of like the mundane moments of everyday life. And I love that. Okay, question 13, a book you thought that you would hate, but you ended up loving. That has to be Bunny by Mona Awad. I heard the descriptions of this book and I was like, not for me. Like, this just does not sound like my cup of tea. And then I read it and I fell in love with it and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I know that this is a weird book, okay? Like, I am so well aware of how weird this book is, but in my opinion, it is absolutely worth the hype and I'm so glad that I read it. It's following our main girl whose name is Samantha, and Samantha is trying to get her MFA at this prestigious university, and she meets a group of girls and they call themselves the Bunnies and they call each other Bunny. They invite Samantha over one day and weird shit goes down. I feel like what's really interesting about this book is that everyone who reads it has a different take on it. Some people pick up on themes that have to do with things that are totally different than other themes that people pick up. Some people read this and they love the weird aspects. Some people read this and they love the metaphors. Some people read this and they are utterly confused, but they enjoyed their experience in it. And so I feel like depending on who you are as a reader, you'll get different things from this book. But for those people who end up loving it, all of us love it for different reasons, and I just think that's so cool, and I feel like it's such a unique experience. Like, most people, when they pick up a book that they give 5 stars to, most of us give the book 5 stars for the same reasons. Like, oh, we love the character, we love the romance, we love this. But this book is a 5-star for totally different reasons from every single person, and I just think that's so cool. Question 14 is going to be a book that made you cry, and that has to be Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is another 5 stars, and it's another book that's like an all-time favorite. I know that Sally Rooney is super divisive and that not everyone loves her writing style. I've read all of her books so far. This is my favorite one. I just loved the dynamics and the relationship between the 2 main characters, Marianne and Connell. It's a book about their relationship. It's a book that kind of starts off in high school. Marianne is really not cool and Connell is. They start kind of like a friends with benefits thing. Connell at the time tells Marianne, like, don't tell anyone we're sleeping together. And then they kind of like reconnect later in college when the tables are flipped and Marianne seems to be a little bit more cool, a little bit more sure of herself, and Connell feels a little bit more lost. And it's a relationship that kind of follows them throughout the years as they are navigating different things. I think I love this book because I feel like it really does a great job at showing the complexities of love and how even when we want it to be really simple and straightforward, people interpret situations and scenarios totally differently and things get lost in translation. Love is just like super, super complicated. I feel like Sally Rooney just did a great job exploring love in this book, and I really, really enjoyed it and ate it up, and it absolutely made me cry. And then question number 15 is a book that you wish you could read for the first time. I have a lot of books that I wish that I could read for the first time for a variety of different reasons, but the one I want to talk about today is actually Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Also, I think I've mentioned this before, but I read this for a literary class in my undergrad. I think it was like modern literature or something like that. And when I first was assigned this book, I came in, slapped the book down on my desk and said super confidently with my full chest, wow, I really love Kurt Vonnegut. I cringe at that so much because everyone in the class looked at me like I was an idiot. So Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five is kind of like an anti-war novel, and it's a little bit of a sci-fi. It's very complicated to discuss though because it's a literary fiction book that does so many different things. I thought I was not gonna like it because, again, it does tackle like war and it does tackle like aliens and sci-fi, and it just has a bunch of stuff that I thought I would not like. It's about a person named Billy Pilgrim, and it's really a book that's tackling like his PTSD and how he views the world before and after he is drafted into a war. And actually, this is very, very personal to the author, Kurt Vonnegut, because Kurt Vonnegut also served in the war and he was forever changed. The book has so many beautiful quotes about being kind to humans and being kind to each other and being kind to yourself, and how war can just fully devastate people and like leave them changed. And I know that as I'm saying this, like, it doesn't sound interesting, but it was so well done and it was so beautiful and it was so impactful, and it's a 5 out of 5 stars. It's one of the best books I have ever read in my entire life, and to this day, I still want to get several quotes from this book tattooed onto my body. I think I would like to reread this again because I was just not expecting to love it. I was expecting to hate it and to be really bored by it, and my God, was I so wrong. It was my favorite book that I've ever been assigned to read. And I think, you guys, that's it. Those are all of the book recommendations I have for this book tag. Thank you so much, Steph, for creating this book tag. I just thought it was so much fun. If you would like to answer these down below, I would love to know your answers. You don't have to answer all of them. If you just want to pick one or two, I would honestly love to chat with you about books that you recommend down below in the comments. And if you've made it to this point of the video, please leave me the little dancing girl emoji. Do you know what I mean? The one that like she looks like she's dancing with like the dress. And a huge, huge thank you to today's sponsor once again. Once again, a huge thank you to Kara for sponsoring today's video. I highly recommend checking them out if you are looking for new vitamins and supplements to incorporate into your life. If you are interested in trying them out for yourself, you can actually click on the link down below and use my code, which is Rosalind50, to get 50% off your very first order from Care Of. I highly recommend checking them out. And also a huge thank you to all of my Patreons over at Fox and Wood. If you're interested in more content, I highly recommend checking it out. We're actually doing a month-long readathon all month long, and it actually comes with like an exclusive illustrated map with prompts. It's not too late to join. We do reading sprints every single week, and it's really, really fun. I love our readathons so much. So all the information for that will be down below if you are interested in joining. And a huge special thank you to my Ink and Quill Club members, who are all the executive producers of every single video that I create. I think that's it for now though, you guys. So until next time, book lovers, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye!
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why.